Welcome to World Soil Day with Good Eating Company. We're here today with Claire Turner, our Good Eating Company Senior Sustainability Manager, who is here to tell us more about the intersection of our food systems and healthy soil. So, Claire, tell us about you and why we're here talking today about soil.
Thanks, Linnea. Hi, everyone. My name is Claire Turner, and I'm the Senior Sustainability Manager for Good Eating Company and a self-processed soil nerd. I've been fascinated by soil pretty much my whole life, but it wasn't until I took a class all about soil health about 10 years ago through the Farm School NYC program that I really started to understand the real value of healthy soil and the role it plays in plant health, nutrition, and honestly as an opportunity to help mitigate climate change. I recently completed a dual MBA in sustainability leadership and also a master's of science in sustainable food systems. And let me tell you, healthy soil is the foundation of a healthy food system.
What an excellent introduction to this conversation, Claire. Soil is the foundation of our food system. That's great. Tell us more about that.
So, a lot of people are actually unaware of the impact that agriculture has on our planet. Agriculture is currently a very large contributor to our global greenhouse gas emissions. And one of the biggest challenges and opportunities of our time is working to shift our agricultural production away from these practices that degrade soil to regenerative practices that help build up organic matter in our soil. Intensive crop production depletes the soil and it's damaging our planet's ecosystem at a really alarming rate. And that looks like loss of topsoil, loss of biodiversity, desertification, habitat destruction, as well as air and water pollution. Additionally, soil health has a direct influence on the nutrient content of our food crops, which is something that we at Good Eating Company really care about. So, the way that we're currently farming is bad for plants, bad for the planet, and it's bad for our own health.
That does not sound like good news. It actually sounds a little horrible. So, what are we going to do about it, Claire?
So, we can actually change the way that we farm in a way that promotes sustainable soil management. And it's a really big opportunity. Organic farming, which is agricultural production that doesn't use any synthetic chemicals, agroecology, agroforestry, conservation agriculture, and zero tillage practices are all farming practices that fall under this big umbrella that we're now calling regenerative agriculture. And Good Eating Company has made a public commitment to sourcing 15% of our food spend from farms that use regenerative practices by 2025. This is an industry first and an initiative that I'm super excited to be a part of. We started with a small pilot in 2022, and we're working in partnership with Kitchen Table Advisors to partner with several farms here in the Salinas and Watsonville area in Northern California. And we're expanding this project in 2023, and we look forward to working with more farmers and producers all across the country.
Wonderful. As you mentioned, Good Eating Company has made this very public commitment to sourcing more of our food to farms with regenerative practices. And we speak frequently about regenerative agriculture, right? That's our buzzword, but how do you define it?
Yeah, so it's super interesting. Regenerative agriculture does not have a single agreed upon definition. It's a set of practices, and it focuses on improving soil health and biodiversity, which means moving carbon from our atmosphere back into the soil. But this can mean a variety of agricultural management practices that all are working in alignment with natural systems. And this is a super important point, but when we're talking about regenerative agriculture, which is this phrase that feels fairly new in our lexicon, the practices we're talking about are not new. Indigenous cultures have been interacting with nature in this restorative and reciprocal way for thousands of years. And many of these best practices that we deploy are building upon this traditional ecological knowledge. So, as we transition from conventional farming practices towards regenerative ones, it doesn't require a lot of new technology, but it can be labor intensive and it does require this whole shift in our cultural mindset.
I love what you said about our indigenous cultures that have been interacting with nature in the restorative way. It reminds me of Renee McCune, one of our sustainability vice president, and she did a phenomenal interview with the author of
And
Healing
this is
Grounds,
old as dirt.
Liz. And,
All of our
as
soils that
you
are
know, we
under
love the
chemical
work
conventional
that you're
agriculture
doing, that
are
Renee is
almost
doing. Can you
completely.
tell
Modern
us what
agriculture
is
was
one
not designed to
regenerative
destroy
practice that
Fossil
you're
fuels are
excited
by
about?
no means climate.
Sure, yeah, and I'm reading Healing Grounds right now, so I have that book right here. And that interview was fantastic. Yeah, so one practice that I'm really excited about is regenerative ranching, which is, for example, rotational grazing, which can help restore degraded lands and helps cultivate soils into productivity. And I feel like it's a really great opportunity. There's such an emphasis right now on how bad beef is for the environment. But if you shift the narrative and think about how cattle and other large ruminants can be managed in a way that actually helps build up organic matter in the soil, for me, it's a way of understanding that maybe we're focusing on the wrong thing by saying beef is bad. And maybe this is a little bit controversial for the sustainability manager to say this, but I don't think that beef is inherently bad for the environment. It really matters how the animals are raised and the impact of that grazing or ranching operation on the environment.
I think you'll hear from our very happy chefs to hear you make that statement. It's wonderful. So we've talked through the big picture of why managing farmland for soil health is very important and some of the best practices in regenerative agriculture. Claire, is there anything else you want to share about soil before we wrap up?
Yeah, so I think it's important to remember that soil is not just dirt. Dirt is something that we think of as fairly inert or dead, and soil is actually teeming with life. It's made up of minerals and water and organic matter and a lot of air, actually. And one of my absolutely favorite facts about soil is that there are more organisms in 1 tablespoon of healthy soil than there are people on planet Earth. And soils themselves host 1/4 of our planet's biodiversity. So it's really abundant with life.
That's amazing, Claire. What are ways you would encourage people to get their hands dirty and learn more about the soil?
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's a few movies that I recommend. One is called The Symphony of the Soil. It's a little bit older now, but it still holds up. The other is Kiss the Ground, which I think some of you have
And this is
already
old as
seen,
dirt.
but I highly recommend
All
it.
of our
And
soils
Fantastic
that are
Fungi
under
is another
chemical
one
conventional
that's streaming on
agriculture
Netflix
are
right now.
almost
It's really great.
Modern agriculture was not
And
designed
lots
to
of
destroy
books
farmland.
and
Fossil fuels
articles,
are by no
and
means
we could have
climate
a whole
change.
book
When
club
we damage soils,
to talk
carbon goes
about
back to
soil.
the atmosphere.
And
And when we
if you
destroy soil,
listeners
it
are interested in
releases
learning
carbon
more about what kind of soil you have at home or are considering planting a garden, I really would encourage you to do some basic soil testing. It's fun, and you learn about what components you have in your own soil, which helps your plants thrive. So you can learn how much clay or sand or loam you have. You can do a pH test, and you can learn if you need to make any amendments to your soil. And then lastly, if you live in an urban area or if you suspect that your home may have had lead paint at any point in time, it's really important to do a heavy metals test on your soil, not just for food crops, but also for you and your own health, because you can actually pick up those metals through digging in the soil. Through it enters through your nail beds. So really important to do those soil tests. There's a link for the UC Cooperative Extension has some information on how to find out more about those low-cost soil tests.
That is an excellent tip, Claire. So, as we're wrapping up, do you have any final remarks for us? It's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, so 95% of our food comes from soil. Soil are supply essential nutrients, water, oxygen, and root support for all of our food producing plants. And right now, 33% of our global soils are degraded. But the good news is that with proper soil management, we can actually produce 58% more food on the arable land we have. So this is actually a hopeful fact. It sounds like not a hopeful fact, but it is, because if we are farming in regenerative ways, we have what we need to take care of the soil and of our health. So go out, support regenerative farms, and get your hands dirty.
Thank you so much, Claire. I'll invite everyone, please, to join us in the chat box on YouTube for a quick question and answer session. If you have any questions for Claire, please feel free to add them to the chat. We'll pause for just a second. Andrew Camuso is asking, what can we do from home to support regenerative agriculture? Excellent question, Andrew.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think learning about soil and really understanding it, giving it the due respect that it deserves is a good thing you can do from home. So if you have space to plant a small garden, that's wonderful. If you can go out and support local farms by supporting a farmer's market, supporting restaurants that support local farms, those are all other things you could do as well.
Excellent suggestions, Claire, of course. I'll add that supporting those restaurants is an excellent choice because the food actually tastes better.
And is more nutritious.
And Renee, our Vice President of Sustainability, says fascinating statistics shared, and she appreciates the hopeful and optimistic tone. Claire, agreed.
Yes, we can't get bogged down. We have to believe in a better future.
All right, so we will go ahead and close, but I want to thank everyone for joining us at the Good Eating Company for this very timely discussion about soil health and the intersection between our soil health and our nutrition. And a very special thank you to Claire Turner, our Senior Sustainability Manager, for putting all of this incredible content together. And a very special thank you to Mr. Omar O'Hara, who is not been visible, but was very instrumental in ensuring that everything was smooth and wonderful. So extraordinary thanks to the team, and please go get your hands dirty and enjoy some soil today. Thank you.
Thanks, Linnea. Thanks everyone for tuning in and letting me nerd out about soil.